Hey guys, this is Bella, and before we start with this week's episode, I wanted to let you guys know that this week's episode is the final part of a series of 3. We started this particular conversation 2 episodes ago with Nyke introducing the concept of art as protest, and we continued it last week with introducing the concept of education as protest. If you haven't had the chance yet to listen to these episodes, please feel free to pause here and listen to those first, as elements of today's conversation does refer back to what we have already discussed in those 2 episodes. We hope that you guys enjoy what we have prepared for you. Thank you so much.
Hello, welcome to It Ain't You, the show that represents the history of ethnic minority groups in the U.S. and where knowledge becomes power. If you don't know, now you know. We're Estar,
Nyke,
Bella,
your very real hosts. Like, speaking about things that it makes you angry that you didn't know this earlier, right? For me, I think protest was something that, as growing up as like a good Korean American, like Christian girl, first of all, like girls don't protest anything, right? Girls should be submissive. Then Christians should be submissive. And then on top of all of that, it's like minorities should be submissive. And so I can't really say that I had any sense of myself as a political actor until super late in my life.
Oh, especially Asian minorities should be submissive.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I think the idea of protest, people, like what comes to mind is what we see on the news nowadays, right? Like people out there marching, or maybe you think, oh, like Martin Luther King, right? Although wait till we get to talk about him and the sanitizing of history, right? And so I always thought like politics, protesting in that sense, even though I'm American, it's like, that's not for me. Like what happens in politics, what doesn't affect me, right? And then, COVID happens and we're all stuck indoors and we have a lot of time to think about how messed up this world is getting, and we can't run away from it, right? We can't kind of numb ourselves or like do other things because life is not normal anymore, and normal is never going to come back. And I went to my first protest, as I think people think of it, here in LA. There was a protest organized by Black Lives Matter LA soon after the murder of George Floyd, and that was my very first like action. And I didn't know honestly what to think about that because again, I have no idea of like how to be political, but all I know is this is wrong. I gotta say something about it now, right? And so I went to this action and, saw with my own eyes kind of what was happening on the streets. And for me, that was a really powerful moment because honestly, I had to prepare to show up at this protest, not because I had ideas that I was going to get violent, but that violence was going to happen. And that showed up when the police showed up. And it was like I was in a movie. Like I literally thought this looks like a movie because you saw trucks and like tanks rolling up with like these SWAT officers. They look like stormtroopers, and they have like these giant guns, and I'm just like, yo, I showed up with like a water bottle, like, and these people are showing up with guns. Who's showing up to get violent at this protest? Like, this Asian girl or these people with like assault rifles?
And literally LAPD, because downtown has so many one-way streets and like cutoffs, LAPD will purposefully push protesters, whether non-violent or not, will push them into a corner literally, and then start throwing tear gas.
Yeah, so I was tear gassed that day.
That's
I was tear
literally
gassed
what
that day.
LAPD does.
Yeah, and so for me, and I know this sounds like extreme, and if you're listening to this, it's not like I'm saying everyone needs to be out there on the streets, but I bring that up because it's like things are wrong in this world. And I think if you can't acknowledge that, then you got to think about what pedestal or privilege you're speaking from.
Right.
Because there's just so much that's wrong with this world. And everything that we do either feeds into that or works against that. And for me, so that's protest. So yes, I have protested in like the kind of what people think about, but I don't do that every day. And I don't think I could do that every day. So then what can I do in my everyday life? And like Bella was saying, sometimes I feel like my literal existence as a person of color in this country is a form of protest. And I carry that in my life further with the choices that I make, even if it's the little ones. So Bella, when you were saying, you know, like you hadn't consumed like a Hollywood movie or something in 10 years, right? I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah, that was the first one. I think the second one following that was Black Panther.
Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah, I was like,
that's
whoa.
powerful.
Back to back, you got both Hidden Figures and then Black Panther.
Yeah, that's really powerful. For me, it's K-pop.
Yeah.
Ever since I've been listening to K-pop since, you know, before it was a thing, in the late 80s, starting in the 90s. And I did it unconsciously at that time, as a way to connect to something where it was people who looked like me. I really like, as a good Christian girl in the 90s, I was not permitted to listen to like American music. And so when people at school were talking about like
Britney Spears.
No, not even before that, right? New Kids on the Block.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wait.
I have no idea what New Kids on the Block is.
You actually,
Backstreet Boys?
Yeah, I was like, you're fine.
So I started like, because when you get a little older, then
Right.
you know you can stand up to your mom. But
Right.
New Kids on the Block, I literally had no idea what they were.
Wow.
I had no contact with them. I did not even know what their hit songs were until Yoo Jae-suk
Really?
Yeah.
they started playing New Kids on the Block songs
Yeah.
as his theme song in his variety hosting.
Yeah.
That was how I got introduced to New Kids on the Block.
That to me
Wow.
is funny because like when you mentioned like you didn't even know what New Kids on the Block sounded like, I was like, but I thought New Kids on the Block was like, I thought they were really popular in Korea.
They were, but I wasn't allowed to listen to Korean music either. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? And
Yeah,
so like
like,
it's really
very,
weird
like,
that K-pop.
You get CCM and that's it.
Yeah.
You get
and
gospel
so-
music and that's it.
Exactly. And so for me, K-pop has always been a way to find something that I'm interested in, people who look like me, but also I wasn't allowed to consume like other forms of media. And then as I grew up, I realized, well, I'm not represented in those media anyway. You know, like I love me some Britney Spears, but she and I have very little in common. And so for me, even something as small as my media choices, you know, like I can choose who I want to put in front of me as like a model, right? Who I want to support. And your dollars do support,
Right.
you know? And so it's weird, but yeah, K-pop as a form of protest.
I mean, I 100% also agree with you on that because I also grew up literally only listening to like Asian pop music with the occasional American music in there. Like I am a fan of Backstreet Boys and Taylor Swift, but I'm not a Swiftie. But like I totally understand that whole like, you know, you want to watch something that represents you in as close a way as you can. And sure, it's not really Asian American, but hey, Asian American media didn't really exist back then.
So interesting because I'm seeing this happening with the Black community all over again with K-pop. Why do you think so many Black people love Chinese culture?
Honestly, first thought that came to mind was Kung Fu.
It's cool.
Yes, but also think about it. Bruce Lee literally brought to America something that was not white. And if you watch his films, he's literally tearing down what was seen and viewed as the oppressor and still being himself.
And Bruce Lee is a teeny little guy.
Right.
Who, well, when I say teeny, like
Yeah, he was very small.
Stature-wise.
He
Yeah,
was small.
he was very
He was
small.
like
And-
5'4",
Yeah.
140.
yeah.
And he all muscle, but like he's going up against people who are like 2-3 times his size.
Right. So a lot of times, like before we had like forms of even like black media, like before BET, before even like TV1 or some things now, literally almost you cannot probably walk into any black home and not see some sort of Chinese culture represented only because of Kung Fu. I mean, why do you think we ended up having Wu-Tang Clan? Like, where do you think they got that from? It was because they saw someone else who was not white, like pretty much just like living it up and being like unbothered by it.
I will have to say this. I'm laughing because like as a kid, in my mind I was like, Wu-Tang Clan, they must be Chinese.
Exactly.
And then I look at it
No,
I'm like, wait, why are they not?
a lot of people, no, actually at first, a lot of people did, if you didn't already know them from
Right.
like the circuit of
Yeah.
like rappers
And-
in New York. Like
and
that's
as-
literally what they thought they were.
Yeah, and as a younger adult, right? It used to bother me so freaking much. And then I was like, I got other things to worry about.
It used to bother you that Wu-Tang Clan wasn't Chinese?
No, it was like, why are you calling it Wu-Tang Clan?
Well, that actually came from it was a Chinese drama, like a literally kung fu film that they were all
Yeah.
like obsessed with. Like that's where they got like Wu-Tang from.
and then partially like, why aren't they Chinese when it's very like, why do you get permission to be very Chinese? And then people who look like us, I cannot be very Chinese without being called a fob. Which I'm like, you know what? I wear that with pride. I wear that with
A topic for a future episode.
yeah. Good old fobs.
Oh,
But
I mean,
I'm seeing the same thing happen again in Black communities now, especially like I'll say late Gen X, millennials, and of course Gen Z, but the Gen Z is a whole other like talk. But literally, I'm seeing that happen all over again.
Right.
Because you get K-pop, which I don't know why. People always, this is going to have to be obviously another topic for another day, but people the first thing they always want to call out for K-pop is cultural appropriation, but don't realize that like there was much cultural exchange happening before you can actually call something cultural appropriation. So yeah, like just letting you know about that. But I'm seeing kids literally be like, I see even in K-dramas, I literally am like, this is what Black families are like. Except for obviously like the super wealthy ones, like with all
it's
the
very
chaebols and stuff.
universal.
Yeah, but I'm like, this is what Black families are like. Like this is what Hispanic families are like. Like, oh snap. Like, wait. So even now, like I noticed it too. Y'all were saying that was like, I haven't been into American pop culture in like, I'd want to say 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
Because just once I got a hold of K-pop and was like, this
Korean
was
dramas,
it.
Korean cinema.
Like once that was like a thing, I don't think I ever like really looked back. So even to be honest, even people talking about Lemonade, I had no idea that was Beyonce until somebody was like, oh, that's Beyonce's new album. I had never seen the videos or
I still
anything
haven't.
like that.
Oh,
Is that a bad admission?
Well, here's the other thing. Like, I'm not gonna say Beyonce doesn't deserve her titles or anything. Like, she worked hard for them. She deserves them. But I'm not about to go and like watch all of them.
I mean, it's also like what, people like what they like.
Right.
Because even
Yeah.
people who are still into American pop culture don't necessarily like Beyonce.
Right.
Like it's
Like,
for who it's
give me
for,
Rihanna,
but
and I'd be like, hey, yo, like I'm up.
that was like, oh, we got to talk about Rihanna because that's another conversation too. But yeah, like it's like I'm seeing that happen and almost like these kids today, especially because I work with like teenagers and even younger, they're almost like, they're actually identifying themselves with K-pop or anything else that they consume. Even older, like, again, older millennials and late Gen X, K-drama, oh, you can keep that K-pop. Like they're like, yeah, that's for, that's for the younger
kids.
ones. That's unfortunate. But yeah, like that's for the younger ones. But K-drama, oh no, they eat that up like literally like it's breakfast. Like, yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting want to say like options that we have
Right.
when it comes to like media consumption.
Yeah. So I mean, of course, like this is, you know, a topic that obviously
We have so many
like we
many
can
ideas.
literally talk about this for hours, but
May have already done that.
probably I think so. But yeah.
Okay, so gonna mention for those that haven't seen it yet, right? Our logo are 3 dandelion seeds, and we initially chose dandelions because of what the dandelion represents, right? And we had talked about this earlier, where it's like if what we do impacts even just one person, it can help spread the message further, right? And it's like a dandelion seed. All it has to do is be blown, carried by the wind, wherever it lands, it impacts the environment that it's in. But a dandelion stands for, you know, the return of life, which, funnily enough, we started recording the day before Easter Sunday.
Oh, we did. That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And it also represents rebirth. So again, like our goal of representing our stories and our history. It also is survival and rebellion and a challenger of rules and regulations. And my personal favorite, the introducer of uncontrolled chaos and randomness.
I think we're probably going to really lean into that one.
Yeah. there's topics of fire and anger and all this fun stuff. But I think the really, really cool thing is that a dandelion also stands for, or is actually associated with, hope, dreams, and play.
Yeah.
Which I think is really awesome for the fact that, you know, it's a teeny little plant and we look at it as, oh, well, that's just a weed. Why keep it around?
Right.
But, and I think it was Estar that pointed this out, right? It also has various health benefits when consumed.
You can eat it.
Wow.
You can eat it. You
It's
can
got
make
vitamin
it as
C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can drink it as part of a
Totally
tea.
forgot that. I actually love dandelion tea.
Yeah.
But I totally forgot about all the health benefits.
Yeah.
I just like the way it tastes.
And that's fine. But it's like, it's all this from like one teeny little plant.
Right.
That people buy weed killer for.
Yeah.
Right.
So again, their very existence
Is protest. Wow.
I
The
love
connections we make.
It. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. You can see how we start with one topic and we branch out from that topic to so many others. And we'd love for you to share with us your ideas. You know, how do you protest, right? Like, how do you make choices in your life that in your own way and in little ways can grow to change the world, right? Just like dandelions can. And so we invite you to share with us your comments on Twitter at itaintnewpdcst or Instagram at itaintnewpodcast. Thank you all for listening to It Ain't New, where if you don't know, now you know. We're Estar.
Nyke.
Bella.
Please show us some love on Spotify by leaving us a rating or a review and join our Patreon so we can grow and continue to give you all wonderful content.